And I'm Josh.
And this is Rubber Duck Outdoors. How's it going, folks? uh, I just want to apologize right off the bat on not getting last week's episode out. I know so many of you were looking forward to it.
Hey, we got what, those 3 subscribers?
Yep, that's
Right?
fair.
We do have those 3 that were probably the edge
Waiting,
of their seat.
yeah, to watch 5 minutes of it. We really need to cut back on our time. I know it's a long span to just listen to us two goons go on and on.
Not so much listen, but the watch part.
Yeah, yeah, that is a big part of it. We don't.
Don't worry, we're trying something new
We're on the cusp
in
of a.
in the coming weeks.
Yep, and I possibly next week we might reveal it.
Okay. We have a potential prescription for everybody's not illness.
Ailments?
Ailments. That's what I'm looking for. Yep. We yeah, we got it in the works.
Yes.
Yep. But anyway, water part 2. That's where we're at this week.
Yeah. So, kind of jumping back to last week, we talked about how to find water, how to get water. But now you got it. Now what? You're just gonna drink it straight from the source?
I mean, that's a technique.
That it is. Um, is that Bear or Ma?
That's my.
Hi, Ma. Bye, Ma. Um, so yeah, how do you make the water safe? How do you treat it?
Mhm.
We're gonna go through some more primitive methods and some more man-made methods.
Mhm.
I guess the primitive ones are technically made by a human, but
Yeah.
older techniques, the newer techniques. Kind of like
Right.
fire, but with water.
Oh my goodness. The first one's thawing, so it was all bubbling over, getting my pooter all wet.
Don't do that, bud.
I know. I know.
So let's kick it off with filters. I mean, I remember when the Life Straw first came about, and everyone's like, "What? This is crazy! You can just take a tube, put in water, and drink it."
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of advances since then.
Mhm.
Um, there's some companies I swear by, other ones I'm like, I'm good with not.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I guess there's two main parts to looking at a filter for what you're gonna want. Technically three. My bad. Tree. What kind of filter it actually is, in regards to that, how small the holes are, how fine mesh it is,
Mhm.
or ceramic, whatever material they make it out of.
Yep.
Second, how the actual size of the filter, that's going to matter for your intended use, as well as then if it has carbon and or activated charcoal or activated carbon in it.
Mhm.
Um, those are going to kind of be the three main key things because no matter what, a filter is the same thing across the board brand wise. Put water in one way, you get clean water out the other way.
Mhm.
And then they have different systems, whether it's you squeeze it through, you just drink it, you use a pump system, you have gravity fed. Either way, it's a filter.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get all tied up with the different methods right away. Look at the actual filter and what is the components in it first, and then go off of those requirements or whatever into then the different attachments to work with the method that you want.
Right. I think one thing to keep an eye out for is obviously it takes time to push water through these filters, and some of them take longer time than other filters take to process the same amount of water, to treat the same amount of water, which dials into the whole size of basically how small of particles can that filter out. And the longer time it takes for that water to come through and dump into your bottle, obviously the smaller the mesh is, the more stuff it's trapping, and the less risk you have of drinking that water. The issue is that since everybody can go to a sink and just open up a faucet and have pure water there,
Unless you're in Flint.
unless you're in Flint, a lot of people don't understand why water filters take so long to get your water from the river into your bottle. And it's just one of those things that kind of comes down to preference. Do you care this much about purified water, or do you personally just want to get it quick, have it treated well enough, and just kind of roll the dice and just deal with any side effects of drinking bad water that you might end up getting? But
um,
first off, for someone new to it, I'd get the finest mesh that you could find, and it's going to take a little while, and it might be a little bit of effort, especially if you're using a pump filter. But
well,
like, why?
I do have a point on that.
Mm-hmm.
With the pump filter, are you talking about one that you're filtering water from, like a water pump for your house? Or are you talking about a water filter with the pumping action?
A water filter with the pumping action, like a backpacking filter.
Okay. And
With the one that I have is it's got a ceramic element in it.
okay, is that the MSR one?
Yep,
That one's
yep.
pretty slow.
I mean, the only time that I've used it so far was when I was on the Wisconsin River, which is just known for being incredibly sandy. So we had all of that sand that we had to filter out, which plugged up the filter pretty quickly. And we would have to disassemble the filter and scrub it down with a like a Brillo pad, or that green kitchen pad. Like probably every half gallon we filtered through it, just because it would get so sandy.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Most people don't think about, oh, I got a filter. I can just use it all the time.
You got
They
to
don't
look at
think,
what's floating through that water.
yep, because it's going to clog it up. And most people don't realize you got to clean out your filter.
Hmm.
Another thing,
Or replace the filter if that's the kind of system you got.
yeah, and with replacing it, let's say you get a filter, like just one of those little Sawyer ones that screw onto a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Those are nice. And I actually upgraded to where the mouthpiece that you drink from is much larger compared to like a small straw size, which it worked. It was just a little irritating because you
Mm-hmm.
felt like you were getting just barely enough water.
Sure.
Now with that, let's say you get it, you want to test it out, see how well it works. You try it, works fine, and then you toss it up on your shelf. And then you don't use it till like what, 5 or 6 months after. You don't have a filter anymore. That thing's dried out. It's done. I would not personally recommend people to do that and say, "Oh yeah, it's all good." I'm not. Don't take my word for it. Don't risk it.
So you're saying like continuously use your filter?
Yes, or get the ones with interchangeable cartridges or
Okay,
innards.
then I'm going to run some water through that MSR filter right
Yeah,
after this because
yeah.
I
Okay, is it the
did a
little
really
pump one or the big pump one?
um I actually got the tub in here.
Because if
I'll
it's the
I'll
small,
grab it real
I
quick.
think for
Grabbing
either
it on the
or,
spot learning lesson for me.
because for either or, you
Yeah.
should be able to get the replacement filters for those. Granted, those things are pricey.
Well, yeah, and the name MSR kind of scares me.
Uh,
I guess they're not that bad priced.
no, they're not. They're reasonable for what you're getting.
This guy,
Oh yeah.
this one, how messed. It should still be good, I think.
Yeah, but I mean,
Oh no, there's moisture in it still.
okay, then yeah, you're golden. Just
Yes.
once that sucker dries out, but be careful. Did you clean it out after?
I did.
Okay, because otherwise you don't want nothing growing in there. Then you definitely don't have a filter.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, jeez. The O-rings on these things are serious. But yeah, we look good.
Cool. But I mean, so anyone watching, the filter Josh has there, it has interchangeable. Boom, right there.
This is ceramic.
Yep, that's the filter.
Oh, the ceramic element. This is what all of your water gets pumped through and into the center of it, I believe, where it gets a hose is hooked up to this little nipple looking thing and goes out the hose and into your drinking source.
Yep. And that's the nice thing about those. Granted, they're really expensive. Well, if you get the biggest one, I think it's almost $400, and then
Yeah.
almost another $100 per replacement element.
Mm-hmm.
So if you let it get ruined, you're out $100. Um, but then there's like the Sawyers. I personally love that brand of filters.
The idea of having something that you can put literally in your pocket or in some small little pouch if you were making a survival kit or something like that for $20 that'll filter
Pretty much everything.
how many hundreds of gallons? Isn't it like 200 gallons or something? Or maybe it's 60 gallons.
I thought they were in the thousands.
I don't remember.
It's been a while since
But
I've looked
either
at that.
way, something that small and that inexpensive to have the capability to filter a hell of a lot more water than what you're going to be consuming and using for even a week or 2 week long outing. I mean, why not have one?
Hmm.
In some backup kit. Thing is, I don't believe you can clean those
Nope, they're one and done.
one
But
and done.
granted, they're $20. So
Hmm. And the idea with them is you use them once, depending on your situation. If you take it out on a trip and you're using that the entire trip, it's a one and done thing. Once you get home, you spend the 30 or the $20 on the new one
mhm.
because there's no way to, unless you're really measuring it out, there's no way to know how much water you've actually filtered through it and how many more gallons you have until you're tapped out or whatever.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's
it
kind of
doesn't have
where,
it doesn't have a check oil light built into it.
even then, I
Like,
don't listen to those. Uh, but that was kind of the two categories with filters. You have the ones with interchangeable parts and the ones that are essentially single use, like the Life Straw, which is
Mhm.
again $20, and you just drink it from the source, good to go. Um, I will say filters that have the carbon in it. will take out a good chunk of the metals and minerals in there. So it doesn't taste like lake water. It just tastes like water. Um, so if you're wanting something that filters it, makes it safe, and helps with taste, look for one with the carbon in it. I believe Life Straws do have those. Um,
Okay.
Still not a biggest fan of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know also Sawyer, Life Straw, and I think MSR have filters that go inside of water bottles.
Yep. They screw on to the
Yep.
like where you put a lid on a standard Nalgene is how they base the threading off of, I believe.
Yeah. So you can get that, and then that's a replacement filter. You can just fill it up, and then with that, you can measure how much you're running through if you
Yeah.
wanted that option.
Hmm.
And then the other brands, they're just different variations of the ones we've listed. Like there's I think it's Platypus brand has a gravity fed system for like a base camp.
Hmm.
It's literally their brand of what looks like a Sawyer connected to hoses with a bag of water hanging from a tree.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And then one that I want to put out is Grail. Grayl, I believe. And it comes with replacement cartridges, and you basically base it off of how much time it takes you to filter water through it. Then it's like after it takes so long, then it's time to get a new filter. But they base it off of like a French press coffee maker.
Mm,
So the actual container your drinking water is in that you're drinking from has this cylindrical filter on the bottom of it, and it slides into a casing basically, which is the piece that you actually scoop your water up, put the filter and the bottle inside of it, and just slowly start to push it down, and it filters through pressure of pushing down on the water coming through the filter, and then everything inside of that internal container is good to drink. And I think the largest one they have is a 28-ounce bottle.
yeah, that you show me that. That thing's pretty cool.
And those run, I think, like $98, and then the replacement cartridges are 30 or 35, something like that.
Not terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, compared to the $400 MSR filter, the $100 replacement. Um,
Yeah, but you could run a house on that.
yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be like if you got a pond or a lake out back and you don't have any more water, you can just run it off of that.
hmm That is an interesting thing. I'm curious on how much the ceramic element for this model is. I'm
Uh,
sure it's over $30 though.
I want to say it's either like 30 to 50,
Okay,
maybe 60 if it's 59.99. But
okay. Cabela's guy.
hey, yeah, I had to look at that stuff all day for almost a year.
Oh,
Ugh.
man.
And I like looking at the filters. People came in quite often for those.
Yeah.
And if anyone is listening or will be listening that I've assisted from that store, reach out. I want to know how that gear is holding up for you.
How did how did Alec, the Rubber Duck podcast guy, guide you in your decision?
I know I sent out a few people to um, few to Alaska, some to the Rockies, a few to like Montana, Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys ever see this or hear this, I reach out. I'd love to hear one, how that trip went, and two, how the gear is.
Mm-hmm.
If for some reason you hated it, I want to know why.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a fun time trying to fit like 6 foot tall people with backpacks, and I'm only 5'7". Like, well, this fits for me. This will fit for you. Uh,
Right. So
so,
other than filters and spending all this money on a filter, what are my other options?
are you asking
And
me or telling me?
huh?
Are you asking me or telling me?
Well, I was kind of like asking myself to, follow through with the answer, but I could ask you as well. What are my other options, Alec, if I don't want to spend all this money on a filter?
I feel like you already know the answer, so why don't you just tell the people?
Okay, okay. By far the cheapest way is to just boil it. Word of caution on that, just to get rid of some of the chunks and the gritty sand and
Mm,
stuff like that. Put a bandana over your bottle and then scoop it up and let it just filter through the bandana to get most of that rough stuff out, the chunks. Get the chunks
yeah,
out. If you don't care about the chunks, don't bother. Just boil it and, drink it down. But boiling by far is the only 100% way, according to the CDC, to kill all pathogens and all microbes and all this other stuff that a lot of filters can't filter out just because the organism is just too small.
yeah. I want to say they can filter bacteria and organisms, but they can't do viruses
Hmm.
because those are just so small.
Yeah. So if you're super paranoid about all of this stuff, send it through your filter into a container, boil it, and then you're definitely not going to have any issues whatsoever.
Nope.
Now, I don't believe there's absolutely any reason to be that paranoid about it, especially in North America. Most places in North America, here in the Midwest and in Canada, and a lot of places out west in the United States, you should be just fine. Now, like what you said about Flint, get the smallest filter you can find and boil the living shit out of that water.
Yeah. Can't really boil off lead though.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's true. Um,
Yeah.
but that's by far the cheapest, most well-rounded, lightweight filter system that you could have is just a bandana. And
Yeah.
plus the bandana, you can use that if you slice yourself open and need a quick band-aid or something. Throw some duct tape on a bandana and just wrap it on you or some shit like that.
We'll save that for another episode, Josh.
Yeah, yeah,
We've been getting
multi-use
a little
items.
sidetracked this episode,
a
but
little bit. I like multi-use stuff.
yeah, I do
But
too.
a bottle in a bandana, boil it, and you'll be fine. It might taste a little funky, but you'll get over it.
Well, and let's say you can't get a fire started.
Hmm.
There are some other options, like there's chemical and also UV.
Hmm.
So when it comes down to chemical, there's iodine. I think they have it in drops and tablets. Could be
Hmm.
wrong on the tablet part though. I do know they have water treating, purifying, just anything. It comes in a bunch of different forms.
Yep.
Seen them in the tablets, droppers, just things you pour into it. Um, yeah, if
Hmm.
you wanted to, I wouldn't. Not gonna swear by it because if you try it, I would not gonna be liable. There is the old trick of you got 2 liters of water, just do a drop of bleach, good to go.
Hmm.
Um, Again, let me reiterate that. If you do it and get sick, it's not my fault.
Hmm.
Just a piece of knowledge. I'm not saying to do it.
Yep.
And then with
And
you,
understand, he said drop of bleach,
not
as in
glug glug glug.
out of an eye drop kind of
Yeah,
drop.
don't dump and eyeball it.
No.
Then that's how you don't have anything left inside.
People die from drinking bleach.
Yeah.
This
Um.
is the method we've heard of.
Yes. And we just want to share what we know.
Yeah.
There's also UV. Whether that's with clear bottle, just tossing it in the sun for a bit or a long bit. And then they also have those UV like pens. You ever seen those?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know why I know what you're talking about.
So it's got like a little electrical component on the end with a button, and then it has a
Hmm.
big long glass rod coming out of it.
Hmm.
Put it in the water, turn it on. UV treats it.
Okay.
Now, some people will argue that UV is better than filters or the tablets are better than UV and all this. Do all of it for all I care. You'll just have really safe water. Might
Yeah, it really
taste a
comes
little
down to
wonky, but
what you feel safe with.
and the most comfortable in doing.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of the same thing you just said, but
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
yeah.
We got there.
Woo! Um, so take our suggestions with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Maybe try out a few things before you go on your trip or put it in your pack.
Hmm.
We've each fine tuned, and I'm still trying new filters and new things as they come out. Just because I'm like, hey, that's a cool idea. I want to see if this somehow works a little bit better or differently than the stuff I've already done.
Hmm.
And we got one more point.
Well, I mean, you did say take what we say with a grain of salt.
Haha!
Speaking of salt,
Good segue, bud. Nailed it.
Alan, what do I do if I am on the classic survival scenario? I'm stuck on a desert island in the middle of the Pacific because I know that I can't drink salt water because that'll just dehydrate me faster than it will hydrate me. It's
Uh,
not a good spot to be.
find some coconuts.
Find some coconuts, slam them,
Yep.
or with a little bit of chemistry going on. I think chemistry, right? You make a
Yeah.
salt water still. This is a little bit more complex because you need a few ingredients to make it work.
Yep.
But really, you need two separate containers, preferably one larger than the other one, and some sort of a hose
Or tubing of some kind.
or tubing, whether that's bamboo or metal, rubber, probably not. But the idea is you have your fire going and you have your nice big container full of salt water in the fire just boiling. Try to cap it off somehow and you have your hose inside of this large container and try to cap it off as much as you can because what you're trying to do is get all of that steam that's boiling off of the salt water to go directly into this hose that you have. As it goes into that hose, it gets farther away from the fire. It starts to liquidize again instead of be this in this gaseous state that it is. And theoretically, where that point happens is right where your hose starts to bend downwards again. So all of that steam will reliquidize about right at the peak and then start to drip down the hose going into your smaller container, which will collect your purified water that's been boiled. The salt is out of it and you can drink it. The larger container is going to be covered in salt.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure. That
Hey,
thing's going to be white.
if you want to season something, there you go.
Yep. You need to salt cure some fish that you just caught.
Boom.
You're good. You got it. But that's another form, the saltwater still, that really doesn't make much sense unless your only option is, you know, seawater.
Yeah. There's also gravity stills,
Hmm.
which I don't know the whole inner workings of it. Haven't done one myself.
I have not either.
That's that whole thing is a little beyond me at this point. Could learn it though.
Hmm.
Um, maybe look into it if you wanting to find different techniques for water collection and purification.
Hmm.
I feel like there's one I'm forgetting. It's gonna bug me.
Oh, the I just remembered another filter. The I don't remember what the technical term is for it now. There really isn't a technical term. We'll just call it a bush filter. And to put this in common terms, let's say we have an empty 2 liter bottle of soda for some reason, right? We got lost. We found an empty 2 liter bottle of soda and cut the bottom off. And then you just pack that thing with a bunch of different stuff, tie your bandana onto the nozzle of it, and then just pack it with very, very fine sand at first, and then some dirt, and then some grasses, and then some rocks on top of that, and pour your water through so it has this multi-layer filtering system to drip down and back into your cup again.
And if you had a fire, toss in some charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely
Charcoal
helps too.
first.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. So you're building this thing with the finest layers at the very bottom and the coarsest stuff at the very top where the water's first going to go through.
Hmm.
So that's an option as well. It works pretty well. I've done it a couple different times and I've been surprised with it each time.
Yeah, if you really want to test out your filter making skills, take another 2 liter bottle full of Coke. See if you can filter out the color.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be something fun to do.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe a vidya on that one.
Ooh, I like your thinking
A
there.
little competition.
Yeah, who can make the best filter?
Yeah. But if you guys can believe it or not, there's an even cheaper way to get your water, and that is to just dunk your face in it and just start glugging away. Now you got to be smart with where you do this from, what animals are in the area, what's upstream from your water source, or if you're, drinking right out of a pond, what else is located on that pond or that lake. But it is an option to just drink right from the source and don't bother about filtering, don't bother with boiling it, don't worry about making some sort of still or anything like that, and just drinking straight from it. I've done it a couple times, not a bunch. I've never gotten sick off of it though. I know there's a few people on the internet with quite a bit of weight behind their names that say they've just drank right out of the source before, they've never gotten sick. But then, of course, there's other people that have gotten sick just by doing this.
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah,
So it's kind of up to back to what you're comfortable with
yep.
and your decision making. I mean, don't drink right next to a beaver dam or something like that, or somewhere where there's a bunch of deer poop or something like that. Like, that doesn't make sense. Don't piss upstream from where you're drinking from because
It's gonna be going
gravity.
downstream. Ugh.
But that is another option. But if you get sick, we're not telling you to do this. We're just
Learn
telling
from our
you,
mistakes, but
yes.
if need be, it is an option. Don't think, oh no, these guys said we can't do it. If you need water, it's better to take the risk and see what happens than
Hmm.
die from dehydration.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I
And
will.
generally these diseases come, or sicknesses, illnesses hit like a week after you've done it. So theoretically, if you got lost and you needed the water and you had no way of getting it, you drank out of the source, statistically, you'll be found by then, by the time your body's basically purging everything that's in it. So you're already in a safe location. You get a pill, you take the pill, and it's done pretty much.
Yeah, and I will say though, I drank from that spot 2 times. First time without the filter,
Hmm.
got hives head to toe. Second time with the filter, perfectly fine.
What kind of filter?
It was a Sawyer,
Okay.
and I've loved them ever since. Yeah, that place was probably not the wisest decision on my part to drink from.
Oh man. I can only imagine.
It was snow melt going down a large hill at a state park.
Ah,
I'm like, this seems relatively clean because it's running through all the inner little channels of the hill. I'm like, it should be relatively filtered.
hmm.
No, no, it was not.
That almost sounds like an allergic reaction as opposed to like a waterborne pathogen or something.
Well, it was the only thing out of the ordinary that I had ingested, so
Huh. Maybe brush up against a strawberry plant.
I don't think so considering it was snow melt.
Oh, well, yeah, I suppose. I don't know.
So, on the note of pathogens or things that contaminate you, there's
Hmm.
also things you should think about that are non um, natural or non organic contaminants.
Hmm.
So, fertilizers. If for some reason you're drinking water downstream of a farm,
Uh-huh.
maybe not.
Let's really stress the location of the world we are in right now. We're in the Midwest, central United States. The entire thing is like 8 or 9 states large, almost 100% farmland.
Yeah.
Fertilizer contaminants are a very big deal here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
listen up, you Midwest people. Be cautious.
Yeah.
Be very cautious about where your cornfields and your soybean fields and your wheat fields and all the other fields are at
Yeah.
in
And
your little operating area.
granted, if you were lost and you decided you need to drink water, and then you realized that where you're drinking the water is near a field, well, then you're probably not going to be lost anymore. You found a
Probably,
field.
probably not. Yeah.
Walk the field till you find a road or the
Hmm.
farm.
Or the farm.
There you
Yep.
go. Granted, I know they have just massive, massive stretches of farmland in some of the prairie states,
Yeah,
even
North
here in
Dakota,
Wisconsin.
South
So,
Dakota.
but
But
at
if
least
you're in
then
Wisconsin, generally,
they're
you're in
not
this
fishing.
one square, and one of the sides of those squares is bordered by a road.
Yup.
And then the other three are, a thin row of trees that just connect to another field. I'm sure that's the same way it is in Illinois, too,
Probably.
I would guess, in Iowa. But,
So, Speaking of Midwest and Michigan, heavy metals. Good old Flint. With those, there's not a whole lot you can do. These are the kinds of things, just not a filter, not boiling. You're gonna have to just take the shot and
Yeah,
hope for the best.
subtle shot fired.
Yep. Michigan, stop sucking.
Get your shit straight, Governor of Michigan,
Or Mayor of Flint, whoever controls
Mayor of
that.
Flint.
It's about time. I thought I heard that it's still going on.
Isn't it? I'm not sure how long it's been, but it's a long freaking time.
Yeah. Give people clean water. This
Yeah.
isn't a third world country.
Mm-mm. It's not. And that's as far into politics as this channel will go.
Yep. No more on that subject. And don't ask.
Yep. uh, what else do we got here? Does that pretty much sum it up?
That sums it up.
I believe that's about all we have for this week. Keep an eye out. If anyone's watching this right now, keep an eye out on Monday for this to show up in the edited version. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it'll get online on Monday or not.
It will. Alongside part one. So you get a little bundle.
Yeah.
I do apologize again. It was a busy week this week, and that completely went right over my head. I called them, and on Tuesday, I'm like, I never made the video. So I do apologize to the people that were looking forward to it, if you were.
That's all right. We'll have a nice little water bundle drop on Monday. So, 2 for
water
the price.
Bundle or a water bottle?
Oh!
That
Dad jokes.
Good. That was bad.
Dad jokes over here. Also, be looking forward to in the coming week and or weeks of our bit of news on the Rubber Duck Outdoors podcast channel. I think
Can we
it'll be good.
Give the people a little bit of a hint?
We can give them a hint. Yeah, you give them the hint.
There's going to be some changes.
Mm-hmm.
And some switches, some old switcheroos.
Some switcheroos is what we're going to be doing here. Yep.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Yep. Yeah, I think that works.
Perfect.
I think that's good.
So I'm Alec.
And I'm Josh.
And this was Rubber Duck Outdoors.